Hey, it's Marley and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving 10 romance book recommendations in honor of Valentine's Day. So over the years, I've gotten more and more into reading romance books, and I think it was last year in February I put out my top 20 favorite romance book recommendation video. Well, now another year has passed and I have 10 more favorite romance books that I want to share with you. Just as a little preview of what type of romance books I'm into, you can go check out part 1 with those 20 book recommendations, or I'll just let you know that I really like tropes like enemies to lovers, fake dating, and forced proximity. I also don't like books to be too steamy. I like for there to be a little bit more depth to them as well, some angst and some other things going on in the story besides just the steam. So let's get into the list. These are all going to be 4-star books or higher. So starting out, I want to recommend 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This is one of those books that is not super rom-com-y vibes. It's more of a book that is emotional and like a deeper love story, not just a silly good time. It follows our two main characters, Eva and Shane. They both have points of view in this book, and basically we're having flashbacks to when they knew each other when they were high schoolers. They had these really nice 7 days together in June when they were younger and really bonded. But after that, they got separated, and now in present day we are seeing them when they are full-grown adults, probably in their 30s or something like that. They end up reconnecting at this author convention because both of them have gone on to become famous authors in different genres. Shane writes like literary fiction and Eva writes romance. So they end up reconnecting later on in life, so a little bit of a second chance romance kind of vibe. And you know, it explores some other themes as well. Eva is a single mother, so it's looking at motherhood. She also has a disability. I think it's like chronic pain or something like that. Shane, I believe he's a teacher, so we're seeing his relationship with like some students, and like there's other things going on as well that were just very impactful, and there's a reason this book is so popular. So I definitely have to recommend this one. Next up, we have Check and Mate by Hazelwood. I know Hazelwood is not for everyone, but she definitely is for me, and I was quite impressed with this book. I think this is like probably my favorite book by her. It's actually a young adult book, but it would definitely still be of interest to people of any age. So our main character is named Mallory, and she is, I think, like 18 years old. I feel like she's recently graduated high school or something like that. When she was younger, she was like this chess star, this chess prodigy, but she has given up chess for a while now and just kind of plays it recreationally. And when she is at this one competition that I think her friend like forced her to participate in, she ends up playing against like the world's best chess player and really making an impression on him. She ends up beating him, and then she starts getting back into the chess world. She gets recruited to start playing again professionally, and she agrees to do it because she really needs to help out her family financially. This is one of those books that of course has the classic Hazelwood charm and humor that I always love, but again, we have those deeper things going on. Mallory is struggling with grief regarding her father. She is feeling a lot of responsibility for her younger sisters and her mother, who I believe is also experiencing chronic pain and can't really work a lot. And the romance between her and the best chess player in the world, what was his name? Nolan? It's just really cute. I just found it really interesting to read about this like chess setting, but also have a really cute romance, and again the Hazelwood humor, but without too much of the smut, because this is a young adult, so it actually doesn't include smut, but we still have a very sex positive main character. So I was just really pleasantly surprised by this book and gotta recommend it. I feel like not a lot of people talk about this book. Maybe it's one of her least popular, which is ironic because I think it was probably her best. A romance book I really actually adored was Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. I've been a big fan of her thriller books, and this was her first romance book I ever read, and I was really impressed. I need to read more of her romance books because I know she has some more out. But this is about Lee. She works in PR. She's doing very well in her job. She's very like career focused. I'm trying to remember. I think she doesn't really focus on relationships. And then this guy, Ben, shows up, who she ends up having to work with. with. And we find out that they have a past. They have dated in the past, but they broke up in a really kind of like dramatic way. And there's like beef and animosity between them. So we have second chance romance and kind of enemies to lovers because they are not getting along at first. And they end up entering into this kind of competition involving the project that they're working on. So it's really fun, this kind of like rivalry, but also they're like helping each other. And I just remember the chemistry between these two characters was really, really great. Of course, as I've been talking about, there are a few other things going on in the book outside of the romance, but this one I found really did focus on the romance a lot. I just loved the chemistry between the characters despite the past that they had that was not great. I think their present day connection was just so entertaining to watch, and I just got so into it. This does deal with some political stuff. That's kind of what their career involves. So if you're also interested in reading about books that deal with politics, that's also an aspect, but it's not overwhelming. Like if you don't like politics, just don't let this scare you either. The romance just worked for me so well. Again, don't think this one is like that popular, so I want to put it on your radars. This one was really, really great and just one of my favorite romances. All right, then we have to talk about Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. In my last video, I talked about the first two books in this companion series, which is of course Yours Truly and Part of Your World. So this is the third book in that little series. And at first, I didn't really see how it connected to the other books, but by the end, you see how it does, and it was done beautifully, and this book will have you crying. At least it did for me. But to start, we're following our two main characters, of course, Justin and Emma. They end up connecting over like a Reddit post where they both are experiencing the same things of where their exes will find their soulmates like immediately after they break up with them. So they decide to like date each other so that they will both find their soulmates once they break up, and because they have this kind of curse on them. So that's what they decide to do. Emma is a traveling nurse, so she arranges to go work where he lives for a little while, but of course they end up building a real true connection where they don't want to just break up for their little plan anymore. So it has this really fun kind of meet cute situation, a lot of lightheartedness that Abby Jimenez is great at working into her stories, but then also a lot of emotional stuff. Justin is dealing with some traumatic things with his family. He's having to take care of his younger siblings when his parents no longer can. And Emma is dealing with a lot of trauma from her childhood, which we really delve into both of these. But at the same time, it's not too overwhelming. Like Abby Jimenez is one of the best romance authors out there right now. She is blending all of these different aspects of romance together so wonderfully. While I didn't enjoy this one as much as Yours Truly, which was a 5-star romance for me, I still really loved this one. And if you have not picked up this series from her, you are really missing out. You've got to read them, and this was just a great little finale to this trilogy. All right, next up, of course, you know we gotta mention my girl Emily Henry with her latest release, Funny Story. This one is just absolutely great. It's about Daphne and how she is engaged to this guy, Peter. Then Peter ends up leaving her for his best friend that he claimed they were always platonic, but I guess that was a lie. He ends up leaving her for his best friend, and his best friend had been dating Miles. So then Daphne, with suddenly nowhere to live, ends up moving in with Miles since they were both dumped by these people who have now gotten together. So they are roommates, and as people have compared, it's kind of giving New Girl in that way. They have this kind of forced proximity living together, and they end up developing this friendship. I just loved seeing the progression of their relationship. There's some steam in this book that was really good, and as always with Emily Henry, she's got so many other things going on. Both these characters also are working through trauma that they have with their parents. Daphne is really going on this exploratory journey of like what she wants in life, stuff with her career. So I just find her books so great. Similar to Abby Jimenez, they're both so great at interweaving all of these different aspects into their romance, but still having romance at the center of the story. Daphne and Miles are so cute. I just absolutely loved this and can't wait to keep reading her books every year. It's always such a joy. All right, then I want to mention Every Summer After by Carley Fortune. Now I'll admit I've read some of her other books and they were not a hit, but this one, her first release, I absolutely loved it. This is giving The Summer I Turned Pretty, but the adult version. So our main character is Percy, and we are seeing multiple timelines in this book. So we're seeing when when she was a kid or like a preteen, whatever, and her parents were renting this cottage by the lake. She ended up really bonding with the boy that lived next door, Sam. And Sam also had a brother, so she became like friends with this family, and she just loved her summers there growing up with these boys, especially Sam, who was her age, and she really had this bond with him. So we're seeing this development, and we're also seeing present day. We know Percy has not been there in a while. There was some sort of kind of falling out that happened between her and this family, between her and Sam. We know that they did date and broke up, and now they just haven't spoken in years. But when Sam's mom dies, that is what brings Percy back. And so again, we're having that second chance romance, we're having that friendship to lovers, if you like those tropes. This book just really worked for me, I think specifically because of the characters. I really liked Sam as the main love interest, and as I said, there is still a lot of drama too that is giving love triangle, giving The Summer I Turned Pretty. I could see some of it not working for some people, but if you want that drama, you want a little bit of a love triangle going on, and this is not like a rom-com vibe, this is more like emotional book, then I would recommend it, especially if you are Canadian. I feel like because Carley Fortune is from Canada, Toronto specifically, I just really connect with her books as well, seeing the settings and things that can be very relatable. The next book I want to recommend is The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren's definitely an author duo that is hit or miss for me, but this is one of their better books in my opinion. It's actually the follow-up or companion book to The Soulmate Equation, which I didn't like, but give this second book a chance because it actually was a 4-star read for me, surprisingly. We're following Fizzy, who is the best friend from the first book. She is a romance author, so she loves romance, and normally she dates a lot, but right now she's been having a bit of a hard time dating. Things just haven't been working out for her lately, so she ends up getting approached by this TV production, which is being headed by this guy Connor. He normally makes documentaries and like educational content, I guess, but he is kind of being forced to work on this reality dating TV show. So he'll be working with Fizzy on this show. She's going to be kind of like the bachelorette figure on this television show. She's hoping this can kind of help her with her dating. So it's just a really fun setup. Fizzy's a really funny main character. Connor is fine as well, but really it's Fizzy that is the star of the book for me. If you like the reality TV show trope in books, that aspect can be fun, but it actually is not too focused on that. A lot of this book is just developing the relationship between Fizzy and Connor before the production of the show even starts. So if you don't like the reality TV trope, you probably could still read this because it's not a huge part of it. I just thought the chemistry between the characters was really good, even though it gets a bit smutty. And as I said, I don't love a lot of smut. It still worked for me. The characters are a little bit older as well. If you're looking for a book with older main characters, Connor has a daughter. Fizzy, I think, is a little bit older as well. This is one of the Christina Lauren books I would actually recommend. All right, this is a bit of a mixed genre, but I wanted to mention it. It is the Ex Hex by Erin Sterlining. So this is more of like a witchy fantasy book with a heavy focus on the romantic relationship as well. So our main character is a witch. Her name's Vivian or Vivi. She dated this guy Reese when, I don't know, they were teenagers or they were early adults. He broke her heart, and so she put this little pretend hex on him. She thought it was just a joke that she was doing with her cousin, but years later Reese comes back to town and we find out the curse actually was real, and as soon as he enters the town, he has to come back for business, the curse hits him. So now Reese and Vivi are forced to kind of be together again because they have to figure out how to remove this curse from him because it is affecting so many things in the town. Things are going wrong. It was giving very like rom-com or like movie style plot, which I just thought was so fun. And even though these characters were very horny, it was a little bit too focused on like the physical stuff between them for my liking. That would kind of be my biggest issue with the book. It still was such a fun time overall. There's like action and witchiness. It just really feels like a movie that would come out around Halloween that was like a witchy rom-com. It was just such a fun time. So even though this crosses over multiple genres, I really would recommend this as a romance, especially for you to read around Halloween. I just think it was the perfect vibe to read at that time. All right, another book that maybe is not a typical classic romance book, but I really enjoyed reading it recently is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This is about the characters Magnolia and BJ. We're seeing both of their points of view throughout. And basically, they grew up together and they had this really amazing romance as teenagers, but we know that BJ has broken Magnolia's heart. He cheated on her, so they actually haven't been together for a few years, but they still have this really close relationship and friendship. They're always hanging out together and having sleepovers and stuff like that, but they just are not actually together because BJ keeps sleeping with other women, she keeps dating other guys, they're breaking each other's hearts constantly. It's very angsty, but also Jessa wrote it in such a fun, funny, entertaining way. They're also both rich. I don't think I mentioned that. So it's like rich person drama, cheeky British humor. There's love triangles going on because both of them have like different love interests as well, which was great again for a person like me who loves love triangles and kind of the juicy drama of it all. This is a series, so I have to still continue that, but for the first book I really thought it was entertaining and I'm excited to keep reading the series. And the final book I want to recommend is one of my favorite romance books that I've ever read. This was 5 stars for me, which is rare, and that's The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is following our main character Clementine, and her aunt has recently passed away and left her apartment. So Clementine's staying in this apartment, and then the apartment like travels through time. There's some magical realism aspect to it, like in all Ashley Poston's books. So she goes back in time to 7 years ago when this guy, Ewan, was staying at the apartment. So she is bonding with this man over the weekend, falling in love with him, and then she comes back to present day and like doesn't know where he is in present day 7 years later. She eventually does come into contact with him in present day, but he is so different. He used to be such a fun-loving, outgoing guy, and now he's like really grumpy, seems to have issues with her. It's almost like we're getting to see these two different love interests in a way. So I really enjoyed the romance in this book. I think Ashley Poston is another author who's really good at combining like lightheartedness and fun into her romances, but also having a lot of darker stuff going on too. Of course, as I mentioned, Clementine's grieving her aunt. We're learning a lot about the aunt's life and how it wasn't the happiest life, and Clementine has to, you know, learn from that, figure out what she really wants in life. And of course, Ewan is also going through his own journey as well. I read most of this book on a plane. It had me tearing up, crying. It was just such a special book to me. So I really have to recommend this. If you have not heard of it, if you've not checked it out yet, it's really worth it. I liked it a lot more than her other book, The Dead Romantics. So if you read that and it wasn't really your taste, definitely consider checking this book out because I think it was a lot better. Just one of the best romances. So those are my top 10 romance book recommendations for books I've read in the last year. I hope you got some good recs from this video, and please feel free to leave me some book recommendations too. I'm always trying to find new good romance books because there's so many that just do not work for me and are not to my taste. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great Valentine's Day, a great February, and I hope you'll subscribe for more book recommendations, reading vlogs, and other reading videos. See you next time. Bye!